Hello, my name is Liam from Lazarus Personal Training, the founder of the No Shoe Crew, and this is your sweat on session. Now, I'm going to apologise for a couple of things in advance. One, I'm wearing a hat. I've been wearing a hat all day and I have got chronic hat hair. So rather than uncover that for the world to see, just decided to keep the hat on. Two, I apologise about the lighting. Obviously, because it's the middle of December, the sun starts to set at like midday, so we've already lost a lot of light. So I've got natural lighting from the front room. And three, I apologise about any audio qualities today. We have the washing machine going in the background, so if that comes through on this video, it is what it is. I feel like we're going to look back on this in a year, 2 years time and laugh about some of the production that went into this video. But nevertheless, it should still be a good workout. We have got our warm-up where we'll be going through 3 movements back to back to get us warmed up, to get us moving, and they are specifically chosen for some of the exercises that we'll be doing in the workout. In the workout, we have 2 rounds where we go 30 seconds on, 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, and we have 3 movements. We do that once, twice, and then on the last time we repeat those 3 movements, but this time for 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, and a final bonus movement for the final 40 seconds. Without further ado, we are going to get into our warm-up. Our warm-up consists of 3 movements: a seated glute stretch, to then go into a hip hinge using a sofa, and then the final one is going to be going into some reverse shoulder circles. So to begin with, you want to be sat down, leg comes across where your ankle is sat over your knee, and then from there, sitting upright and tall, we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, and then out through the nose. We're going to push the knee away from the body. Once you've done 3 on one side, we switch over and we go into 3 on the other side. From there we come up to his feet, heels against the sofa, we're stood up tall, shoulders round back and the core stays tight. We're going to go into a hip hinge movement now, so our hands come down the quads, down to the knees, and then we come back up tall again. Here my hips are sinking backwards towards the back of the sofa. We're going to do this 10 times. I like using a block like this sofa when it comes to this hip hinge, because it stops that knee movement. So sometimes the knees will track forward and it ends up being this, where yes, I've come down to my knees, but my knees are shot forward. Ideally, we're going to keep shins vertical and the hips going backwards. Should feel a slight pull coming out of the hamstring as we complete this movement. And then from there, we're going into shoulder circles backwards. So with this, they come up and around. One of the ways that I like to get set up with this is I'll flip my hands over, take them round so my thumbs are pointing forwards, over and then down the back. I just feel like it gives me a better range of motion, and I'm already internally rotating my shoulder, so then this is a little bit easier to go into, and overhead I get a bigger stretch. And what you'll find is that your palms naturally turn as you go through that position. Fingertips reaching right away from the body. From there we go back down into that seated position. I like this glute stretch because it opens out as external rotation, or basically how far we can bring the foot into the body. I always find that a bit of a weird role reversal, which often we can struggle with this external rotation. Said that wrong. Internal rotation is the other way. No, this is external rotation. Sorry, this is internal debates I'm having in my head. External rotation of the hip is where the foot comes in. Internal rotation of the hip is where the foot goes out. So there's an example of that. External rotation of the hip, internal rotation of the hip. Not that that even matters through this. Back into those hip hinges again. Because I'm waffling, we're going to speed this up a little bit. Again, we want to be making sure that this spine stays as flat as possible. So I don't want anybody bending through the lower back. This should all be hip dominated. And then from there, back into those shoulder circles again. With this, fingertips are reaching far away from the body. We're trying to create some distance in the shoulder joint itself. 3 more of these before going into one last hip stretch that caused me so much issue before. Reason why I like nasal breathing, really helps prime and ready the body. Also, the more that we nasal breathe, the better activation of the core we tend to get. I find that if I'm doing cardio, focusing on my nasal breathing actually really gets my core and my abdomen working really hard. And there, back into that hip hinge. If you don't feel like you need that block behind you, feel free to do it freestanding, and you'll probably feel a little bit of a better stretch coming out of it. The block is just a nice cue for if we're not super comfortable with this hip hinge position. We always want to be warming up before we do any sort of exercise, whether it's going out on a run, whether it's doing one of these sessions, or whether it's going into the gym. What I'm hoping is that with these little warm-ups that I do at the beginning of the video, these become pretty much ingrained in everything that you're doing, which then means that if we do go out on a run, we don't just strap on those boots and get out there, we actually take a little bit of time to warm up. From there we go into our workout. The workout consists of 3 main movements. Those movements are a box squat with an overhead reach on the end of it. We then go into some ATWs laying down on the floor, and then we go into some single leg toe taps. Now with this, it's 30 seconds of work. On the first 2 movements, it's 30 seconds right through, and on the last one, it's 15 seconds on one side, 15 seconds on the other side. What I'll do now is I will demonstrate those movements, and then we will get into the workout. So in the squat position, we sit down, we reach in between. Don't worry if you can't touch the floor, we just go down, then drive through the ground and up. Here, I'm coming up onto my toes as I reach overhead. So it's practically a jump without coming off the ground. For the ATWs, I hope this gets framed up right. ATW position is laid down, fingertips away from the body, they come up and down, out into a T position. They move across a little bit, up and down, into that W position. So it's little squeezes in every point. Again, A comes down, it's a little bit like a YMCA, into a T, and then up, arms come up, elbows come down, squeeze for the W. And then for the final one, single leg toe tap, foot plants into the ground. From here, my opposite leg goes backwards, that hand then comes down to the toe, and we come back up again. I'm using the sofa as a little bit of a balance point. So once I've done one side, I'll swing round and I'll pop onto the other side. Controlling that motion, making sure everything feels comfortable. The final movement that we do when we come to that 40 seconds, I will tell you about when we get there. So, with all that said, let's get into this workout. Okay, we're beginning with those squat overhead reaches. Take this at whatever pace you feel comfortable with. As I'm reaching down, I'm going to try and keep my chest up. So I'm not collapsing right forward here. From there we take a little break and we're going into those ATWs next. Again with that ATW position, A, T, W. 3 seconds. Okay, away we go. So we come up, out into that T position, up,
down, squeeze into that A, T, W, A, T, W. This is working on those shoulder blades. So you want to be squeezing them together as if someone's got a pen in between your shoulder blades. From there we're coming back up to his feet. This next one we go 15 seconds on one side, 15 seconds on the other side. Again, foot's planted and gripped into the floor. I would advise doing this, ironically, with no shoes on. Away we go. And up. Every time that you come up to the top, think about your hip coming through. So there's a drive from the glutes forward. Switching sides there. And up. And we rest there. We've got 15 seconds and then we're going to go again. So again, that's a squat, ATW and single leg toe taps. This time around we're going to pick this pace up slightly. So again, think about that reach position, making sure the form stays good. Away we go. So here, it's a little bit more like I'm going into a jump. I'm extending through my toes. Now I wouldn't advise to extend through the toes when it comes to a weighted squat. To an unweighted bodyweight squat, not really got much of an issue with it. A couple of seconds and we go into that ATW position. Again, laying down, and this is that squeeze with the shoulder blades. Okay, right, away we go. So it's just a little pinch, and then we move into his next spot. We just want to keep these moving, and it's quite a swift action, but you should feel like your shoulder blades are really starting to light up. Single leg toe taps coming up. Every time that we get into this break, deep breath in and out through your nose. Feet are planted, and away we go. 15 seconds on one leg. 15 on the other. What you might find is that you need a lot more assistance when it comes to this single leg position. Absolutely fine. Use as much stability as you need. I went way over there. Spin around. We're going to the other side. You should be finding they get a little bit easier. Last round, 40 seconds of work on everything now, and then we've got that last little bonus exercise. Okay, ready in 3, 2, 1, away we go. So we hit that squat and up, reaching the fingertips away from the body. Each of these movements should be feeling more and more comfortable every time that you do it. Over halfway. Quads, glutes, hamstrings and calves, because of the extension, will all start to be firing. We also want to think about the core and the shoulders. Back into that ATW position. We're coming down. Make sure you've got enough room around you when you go into this position. Sometimes living rooms can be quite tight. Okay, ready, in 3, 2, 1, we come into that A position, down, T position, up, W position. Again, it's a squeeze, and then we move into his next point. You want to make sure that your glutes are tight and squeezed. Don't be using your lower back to pull your shoulder blades off of the ground. Everything below your rib cage should be static. Going back up this time round. 20 seconds on one side, 20 seconds on the other side of these single leg toe taps. Core stays tight, moving from the hips. Foot is planted into the ground and as much stability as you need. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, away we go. We come down and come up. I will do a better job this time than actually watching the timer. There may be a slight bend into the back when you come into this. Switching sides. Again, similar to the squat. I'm not overly worried about that because we're unloaded and we're working on body stability. However, if you feel like you get a pain out of your lower back through this, stop, rest, and evaluate why that might be happening. Last exercise, it's going to be a plank position for 40 seconds. This finishes off the core. Keep it strong, keep it squeezed, keep the glutes as active as possible. With that plank position, however you feel comfortable, I'm going to go onto elbows, kicking the feet back, and we're squeezed and held. My head is looking down towards the floor. My elbows are pulling towards my toes, and my toes are coming up towards my elbows. Core stays tight, glutes stay tight. Remember to breathe in this position. Preferably in and out through the nose. We've got 20 seconds left. Again, we don't want to feel any pressure in the lower back through this movement. So if you find that you're kicking out, pull your bum underneath. Same with if you're too high up, pull and squeeze it. And rest out of that one. From there, it brings us to the end of the workout. Quite a quick, short one today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've discovered a couple of movements that you might not have known about. If you've got any questions about anything that I've gone through with that, feel free to ask or leave a comment under the video, and I will see you next week.